Tam Talks explores life, spirituality, and general weirdness through quirky storytelling and laughter, lighting you up in your life journey. Let's go!
Welcome back to another episode of Tam Talks. Tamiah here. So this is as close as I could get to cherry blossoms. I'm not even positive they are, but this episode is about cherry blossoms. So I went to Kariya Park and High Park this past weekend for the Sakura season. So I have notes because I want to do my best to explain what this is and what it means for Japanese culture, and also how it came about. So anyways, my son is going into a second year for photography and loves taking photos. And about a week ago, he had said, can we go down to High Park in Toronto and for the cherry blossom trees? And I'm like, sure, I've never been. I don't know. So I'm like, yeah, sure. So we drove downtown. We made a whole afternoon of it. And there were just tiny little buds. So anyways, I was at a networking group and I was speaking to someone who lives in that area. And she told me that there's another park, Kariya Park, in Kariya in Mississauga. So that's a little bit closer. We could go check those out. So anyways, she mentioned that this upcoming weekend was prime viewing, even for High Park. So my son and I went back. We had a whole itinerary because apparently there's cherry blossoms at the U of T campus in Toronto. And he wanted to go to this Hazelton Lanes place because there's fancy cars. And anyways, I don't know. And then, of course, we had to go by the CN Tower. And then he wanted to catch the sunset. So, anywho, we started at Kariya Park, which is down in Mississauga, kind of by Square One area. And it's literally in the middle of the city. And it's this beautiful park. I looked this up, I did a little research, 80 trees. And they were gifted to Mississauga there's a place in Japan called Kariya, spelled obviously Kariya. And so there's 80 trees. And in Kariya, Japan, they have a Mississauga Park, which has like a small size city hall. So they're sister cities. I didn't get anything else kind of about the history, so feel free to dig deeper. Now, so we went there first and it was so cool. It was packed, like so many people there, but it was beautiful. We were lucky enough. We got some parking on like a side street. Anyways, so, and I'm going to tell you, okay, I'll tell you now. So the whole point of, the Japanese tradition, so it's called Hanami, and that literally translates to flower viewing. So it's a whole thing, and it's called the Sakura tree. So cherry blossoms, but they're Sakura. And what they represent is the transient nature of life and the fleeting beauty and the reminder that life is short. So the trees blossom once a year and they last for 1 to 2 weeks maximum. And the whole point is that these beautiful blooms come out, then they wither, and then they shrivel away. But they come back the next year. So it's representative of kind of that cycle of life. So in tradition, it was also used to predict planting. So the farmers, and this was like 1,000+ years ago. So it gave an idea of when to plant, when to harvest, and all of that for the farmers. It's also a national symbol of Japanese culture worldwide. It's the flower of spring. It marks the end of winter and a sign of renewal. And yes, so it also marks the beginning of the fiscal year and school year in Japan, which is in April, and that's a symbol for good luck and hope. So now the Hanami, that whole kind of flower viewing, it's a whole event. So in Japan, all over the world, but it began in Japan, people gather for picnics under the Sakura. And I watched this really cool video explaining it all. Actually, maybe I'll put the link in the underneath so you can watch it. I loved how she explained it. I think it was an 8-minute video. But basically, everybody, no matter what your status was, everyone gathered and just chit-chatted, and family and friends, and you ate and you drank and just had this amazing time. And then you watched these beautiful flowers. And what an amazing, amazing tradition. So, and it happens all over the world now. So back to my story from this past weekend. So my son and I then moved on to High Park. And it was so funny because we wanted to make it to Riverdale Park, which is like east end of Toronto, and this is west end, for sunset. And we live in Port Dover. We left there at 4 p.m. My son's like, oh yeah, that's enough time. Anyways, so we're booting it. We go to High Park. There's no parking. There's no car entry during weekends. So you have to park outside on the streets and then make your way in. And it's I think it's maybe a 10, 15 minute walk in. But anyways, so we're booting it through the woods. We get through. Oh my word. So at High Park, there are over 2,000. So, okay, wait. It says there's 2,000 trees that were gifted initially from Japan. I'm not sure how many are still at High Park. There are a lot. We took photos, but I feel like I don't know if there's 2,000. So they were gifted in 1959 from a Japanese ambassador thanking Canada for accepting Japanese Canadians who were relocated after World War II. So I was wondering, I'm like, what's the significance? Like, why did randomly? So yes, anyways, so we went there and you just walk around. There's people everywhere of all cultures just taking photos. There was a whole section of like a bunch of photographers and people dressed up in like anime costumes. I hope that's not offensive that I call them costumes. I don't know. I'm not into anime. Anyways, so we were taking photos, videos. It was amazing, beautiful. I hugged them. Oh, it was insane. So anyways, I wanted to do a podcast on this because I think it's so important for us to keep our minds open and learn about other cultures, learn about other amazing traditions, because think about that. That's all about community. That's about friends, family, the cycle of nature, the cycle of life, the reminder to live life to the fullest because it's short, it's fleeting. You never know. You never know when you're the petal that drops. Maybe that's morbid, but it's not. So if you have not checked it out, I'm now adding to my life list, bucket list, whatever you want to call it. I want to go see the cherry blossoms in Japan. It's on my list, my boys as well. But specifically, I want to see the cherry blossoms there because, oh my goodness. Oh, and another fun fact, which I didn't write this down because this was from the video that I referenced. So the woman in the video was saying that cherry blossoms don't seed. You can't plant them. You have to graft them. So you would have a clipping from one and then graft it onto another plant. And then that's how they grow, which means that they're all genetically from the same plant. Isn't that cool? Anyways, so go check out some cherry blossoms. I mean, make it snappy. I think they'll be dropping in the next few days in Toronto. So if you want to see them or look them up or do some research. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode and I'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening. Peace out.
Thanks for hanging out and listening to my wild and wacky Tam Talks. Follow Tam Talks to be notified of new episodes. Peace out!